It's our pleasure today to be joined by Dr. Brooks. Dr. Brooks, it's great to see you. How you been?
I've been great, Andy, and it's great to finally be with you again. It's been a while.
You've been the president at Trine since the year 2000,
Yeah.
and I would imagine during that time you've probably seen about everything, and yet 2020 has been unprecedented. So if you would, take us back to the spring when you had to make really tough decisions on behalf of the university as the whole country was trying to adjust to the pandemic. What stands out when you look back at that time now?
Well, in my 21st year, I thought I had seen everything.
Right.
Obviously, that's not the case. Probably the most concerning thing during that period of time was taking care of our people, taking care of our students and our faculty and staff, both from a health perspective as well as the responsibility we had of having thousands of students registered and enrolled in classes here at Trine University. When this all began, we had roughly 1,400 students living in the residence halls, and so how do we safely and responsibly undo things 9 weeks into a semester and do it as safely and responsibly as possible? And so the work and resilience of all the employees here, the faculty, to flip a switch, literally go from as you know, from a Thursday or Friday afternoon to a Monday morning. The transition to go totally online without a whole lot of warning was something very, very phenomenal, and I think certainly something that our faculty have done an incredible job in the spring of the year, and we learned a lot to get ready for this fall. But for me, it was about the safety of everyone at that particular time, because there was so much that we didn't know in March and April that we know today.
Right.
That helped us prepare for the fall of the year. Then the other thing that really became important to me as we went through the process was being able to take care of our employees, to not have to lay off or furlough folks like a lot of businesses and other institutions had to do. And employees got us to the position that Trine University was in. It was very important to me to take care of them during that period of time until we got back to where we're at this fall. So I can't say enough about the hard work, the efforts, the resilience of the Trine family.
You talk about the hard work. You guys, your staff, your people who were here over the summer worked extremely hard to prepare this campus for fall 2020. When the staff and students got back, the campus had been transformed into a place where we could safely have school again face to face. With so many institutions of higher learning deciding to go online for fall 2020,
Sure.
Why was it a priority for you to be face to face?
I think without question the best learning takes place in the classroom. And I think the best experience for students are to be engaged and socialize with others. One of the things that's not talked about a lot, I think, during this pandemic is the lack of socialization, what takes place during that period of time. And so it was important for me to look at ways we could do it. I knew we couldn't be 100% in the classroom. We had learned a lot about online education from our experience in the spring, and so we took all of the summer really to prepare all of our classrooms that weren't ready to transition to technology, to make sure they were ready so that we could operate in a hybrid format. As you know, we lost basically half of our classroom capacity by distancing.
Right.
Looking at all the things we need to do with plexiglass shields, residence halls, all of that, but just really a monumental planning effort to get ready for that.
So now we're into our fourth week of the semester, and we're still in person. We're still here hanging in strong. How do you assess the first quarter of the semester so far?
Very proud of where we're at. It's hard to be excited because, yes, we've had positive COVID cases. Yes, we've had people in quarantine. But overall, given the volume and where we're at, I think our plan has worked exceedingly well. And I'm very proud. I've thought all along that we're only going to be as good as people taking personal responsibility. It's not about how I feel about wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. It's about my fellow classmate, my fellow man, my fellow employee, of respect for them. And so I really give a lot of, not time to celebrate yet, but really thank our students, particularly. I know it's extremely tough on young people in this environment to not be able to socially engage and do the things they would normally like to do. but to take personal responsibility in the classroom, in their lives, in the residence halls, to do the things necessary for us to stay open. As you mentioned, 4 weeks in, that's 25% of the semester. That's a big first hurdle for us. And we've done some testing in athletics. A second round of testing in athletics starts this week. And so that's a good snapshot of really 50% of our on-campus population. I think that's a good guide point for us to know what we're dealing with overall and how we move forward from here. And it's my understanding at this point that for the most part, most of the experiences in the classroom are going extremely well too.
Well, we had some good news to start the semester, which was another record enrollment.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I was really pleasantly surprised to see that.
Yeah.
Despite what you called the monumental challenges we've had with COVID, just
Yes.
like everybody else has, you turn around and have another great enrollment. To what do you attribute that?
Attribute to our people. You know, on the week of the enrollment report on March 15th or 16th, our incoming class was down something like 9%. And knowing what we were headed, what little we knew at that point, and in the next couple of weeks, I thought this is really probably not going to go well for us as we go through the remainder of the spring. It was about that point in time we started seeing a shift and a change, and it goes back to what I said about working remotely and how we did our work in a virtual shutdown of this campus, that I can't say enough about our admissions team and staff for the work that they did. All of our coaches who continued to work and do their dead level best to produce this class, to faculty who were still engaged in email, calls, or whatever of those folks. And so it was just a tremendous effort to go from that point in mid-March to a record enrollment in the fall of the year in the second week of August was something phenomenal. To be back to a class of over 700 students. Not only that, but to see a retention spike of 8 points. We went from 76 to 84% in retention. I do think that's probably somewhat COVID related, but all those things brought us about as record housing. We were basically out of housing 3 weeks before the semester began. Everything circles back to me, to the work of our people.
Let's talk a little sports.
Sure.
MIAA announced 5-6 weeks ago that they would not have a fall season for sports, and your university had an announcement immediately after that said we're still playing. And I was able to talk to Coach Land a couple of weeks ago and really see his passion and his determination to get our student athletes in the field of competition this fall. Why was that a priority for Trine, despite the conference shutting down for the fall semester, to find a way to play?
Well, as most of our viewers, and as you know, athletics is a huge piece of who we are as a Division III institution. Over 1,150 student athletes on our campus. That's not the primary reason. I think we had gotten enough guidelines from the NCAA, our conference, state, local, regional healthcare providers to look at a way we could do it safely. Certainly that required testing. But I also think athletics gives more structure to the student athletes than the rest of our student body at large. And that I know more by testing about our student athletes than I do the remainder of the student body. Coaches give more structure, you know, in terms of student behavior. You know, protect your teammate, protect your team, back to the personal responsibility piece. And I thought we could do it safely. Obviously, the fall schedule is not going to look like anything like we normally would do it, but I think the ability for us to be able to play 3 or 4 football games, to have some soccer matches, to allow our kids to again engage in activity, athletically, socially, however, both on and off the field, is something very, very important to us. And so certainly we still have a long ways to go, but we're in practice mode now, getting ready to gear up again for testing, as I mentioned early, and really feel good about where we're at.
So you're a huge Trine football fan. I see you at every single game, every home game.
Yeah.
You're there enjoying it. And you're not just there talking to friends and important people in the Trine family, but you're watching some football.
Yeah.
You're engaging with the game. You're also a big University of Tennessee fan. So when you found out that the Big Ten and the Pac-10 were shutting down, it had to be a relief to know that the SEC was still going to find a way to try to play. What do you think of that decision for the SEC conference and big-time college football in general?
Yeah, it's obviously going to be a different type of year if the SEC does get to compete in the ACC, which we know are the two powerhouses. Big 12, I think, still out there. I just read this week, as probably you have, the outbreak at the University of Alabama is really concerning right now, and where they go. I don't think they're out of the woods yet. I saw where Coach Pruitt at Tennessee canceled practice for 2 or 3 days now because they have an outbreak there. But I know while they are committed and determined, and certainly they're at a much higher level of us, I think, to do all the right protocols and do all the safety measures, still a little worrisome to me to see if they're going to be able to compete in a full 10-game schedule, but we'll see how that goes.
But you like this Vols team if they get a chance
I
to
do
play.
like
Is that
this
right?
Vols team, you know, and we were chatting before we went on camera. I like it particularly well after our win against Indiana last year in a bowl game. You know, I think they finished up 8-5, got back to a bowl game. They're young, had a good recruiting year, got a good jump on the fall 21 class, so I do like them. But as we both know, when you're talking about SEC and ACC football, it's about as tough as it gets.
Sure is. Last thing for you, Dr. Brooks. In addition to the virus, there's been an unprecedented cultural conversation around racial equality, social justice, and that conversation continues today. We have a rich diversity in our student body here at Trine, and I know this is a priority for you for your whole career. How can Trine be a leader here during a time when I think our country is really groping for answers? Yeah,
I'm really proud of that diverse culture that we've had. We've been able to enjoy that for a number of years, and I think Trine is really a community that really serves, connects, protects. You know, one of our mottos this year is Trine together. See each other, hear each other, care for each other. I know for me personally, I think hearing out of those three is the most important, really hearing our students, hearing what they say, but as I've said with our staff many times in our planning sessions, find a way to hear what they're not telling us, and how do we do that? And so there's no committee, no brief action, no press release of any variety that fixes this for anybody. This is a long-term commitment. This is a lifestyle change, I think, for all of us now to embrace. I like it because I think we embrace those students on our campus. They bring so much here. But I think the hearing component, and make sure that we're fully hearing and appreciating and accepting of the values they bring, and make sure they're treated fairly in the process, is very, very important. We've got a committee that's working on campus. Various departments are doing different things. But to me, this is the way the Trine family, Trine University, conducts its business now going forward. It's not a semester, it's not a year, it's the way we continue to look at how we improve on those qualities we think we provide to that population going forward.
Dr. Brooks, I appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you.
I
Andy.
really do. I
Always
appreciate checking in with you and giving us an update on how everything's going.
Thank you. It's always good to be with you.